Welcome, everyone. This is Pineleaf News, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at latest news in LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Sanswinda,
Hello.
Guarendis,
Hello, everyone.
and Krister.
Hello.
Hello, everyone, and let's go and have a look at what the news is for LOTRO this week, where we'll begin with some Release Notes Update 30.0.3, which was released on May 11th in 2022. And in this, Myrtle Mint has retired for the season, and Filbert Fig has returned to Barter Cosmetics for Fragments of Splendor. And the new Adventurer's Loot Box gear for levels 140 characters will now scale from level 467 to 469. Delving Adventurers Livery Essence boxes are available for barter at the Adventurers Quartermasters and has a chance to drop from Adventurers Steel-bound loot boxes. And several new and returning items have been added to the Travelers and Adventurers Steel loot boxes for a limited time. These items will not be available for barter from Filbert Fig. We have the Steed of the Eldar, the Tome of the Copper Netherhound, the Tome of the Buff Donkey, the Empty Bucket Planter, the Bucket Planter of Wisteria, and Fox and Fiddle Eins in Signpost. And as for news and notes, the following quests should now correctly be available to all account types regardless of Rise of Isengard content purchase. A thorn in the hand, sign of the past, symbol of the future, and slipping through the fingers of the white hand. Also in miscellaneous, corrected typo in Minas Morgul Collector's Edition bonus item package in German. And there is a known issue, and that is the Bucket Planter of Wisteria and Empty Bucket Planter were added to the Adventurers and Travelers Steel-bound loot boxes in error. These housing decorations will be removed from loot boxes in a future patch and do not disenchant for Figments of Splendor. And that is it for update 33.0.3. And we also had a note of something that they expect to come out in update 30.0.4. No release date was given yet, but at the rate they've been giving out updates recently, I guess that could be as early as next week. But I'm sure either next week or the week after that, we should be seeing these new bridles, and they're going to be clear on this, is what they're doing is they're creating non-legendary bridles is what these new bridles will be. There are not going to be legendary bridles anymore. So these will be bridles that you'll be able to use and help to alleviate the gap that we have that was created by the loss of the legendary bridles, but they're not replacing them with a new set of legendary items. And all I can say about that is thank you.
Right, but what about the existing legendary bridles?
Yes.
You mean the existing ones?
Yeah, I
Well,
actually have a very nice one, in fact.
Same.
For Krister.
Well, I will presume that it's going to be locked the way it's all old legendary items are locked. Meaning,
See, now that would be truly legendary at that
Now-
point, too.
As long as they don't seal them, because the sealed ones that basically move them into your bag, and I don't think you could equip them anymore, can you?
oh yeah, you can still equip old legendary items. It's just that no one would want to probably because
Well, definitely not for the others, but if we're not going to have any other way to improve a bridle and you've got a very shiny one.
yeah. Well, I think one of the reasons that they're doing this, of course, is anyone who has gone to Rohan, arrived in Rohan, and there are plenty of people did because of for example, the Shadowfax legendary server, is that if you entered into Rohan after the release of the new legendary items, then you don't have any bridle at all. So I think this is mainly targeted
Yes.
for those people.
Oh, I know. I have 2 characters that could push forward and go into Rohan, but I've just kind of been fooling about because why bother? So at least they will have an option. Thank you.
That they will at least have an option there. We'll have to see how this works out when this happens. So I expect that by the end of May, we'll be seeing these come around, assuming they don't run into a sudden bug that causes them to postpone it. When has that ever happened?
Ooh, maybe it'll be a bug that lets our mounts briefly fly. That would be kind of cool.
Krister, you just have to go faster over the cliff.
I just have to fall, but I have to miss.
Yes, you have to fall, but you have to miss. That is. You just reminded me of something that someone once did in WoW, and that is that is because in WoW there's an island, an elf island that has a super, super, super high tree. This tree is so high that he jumped off the edge of the tree, and it was so long away that there was this gulf of water in between him, and he landed on the continent on the other side. I don't know what he did in order to keep from being killed instantly during the thing, because that's what normally happens when you do it. But it's like you spent 10 minutes falling down towards the item in there. So that's the closest thing. I don't think there are any heights that high in Lotro, though.
No, I think it isn't the highest we can get technically just on top of the prancing pony.
Well, I'm sure there's
we
a
can't
couple of
do that
mountains that
anymore, I
might be
think,
higher. I'm sure there are a couple of mountains that are higher. It's just that relative to the local terrain.
Oh, fine. I guess the mountains are higher.
Go fling yourself off the tin rock.
Yeah. Is there a way to actually get on top of the tin rock?
I haven't found one.
Okay,
By
that's what.
the way, if you swim over the edge of Rowboat, you do die. Eventually.
Oh, eventually. Yeah, I suppose that could be the
I mean,
highest.
I don't know how I would know that, but
Well, it's not like the Rauros is likely to be a survivable encounter.
I needed a Lothlorien rowboat, right? I mean, Boromir's corpse supposedly made it.
Well, yes, but you can remember is
So I
that
just need a Lothlorien rowboat. That's all.
yes, but note the word corpse.
It was already dead.
Yes, he was already dead, so therefore it couldn't kill him.
Don't ruin my hopes, Pine.
Yes. Let's head into store sales. And Guarendis, do we have any hopes of there being a good store sale this week?
Well, it depends on what you consider a good store sale.
Uh-oh.
If you have room left, there are character slots on sale, which I know that Sanswenda endorses heartily. Those are 25% off, as well as vet status, stat packages, and XP boosts through the 19th of May. And there's also a weekly coupon for plus 20% mount speed with the coupon code FASTRIDER, also through the 19th.
Whee! Then let's go into our site news, where Squirrel has written a guide to completing Hootbold as quickly as possible. And he got the idea for this one during the anniversary, where he had a character who wanted to finish up all the anniversary items, but their there seems to be a part of it that requires you to go into a place that requires Hootbowl to be unlocked, etc.
Yes, indeed.
So therefore, he gave a guide so that you could quickly get Hootbold up, because obviously, if you discovered that you needed to complete Hootbold right away, and if it took you 50 days to do so, the anniversary would be over by then. So yes, the Hootbold Quickly Guide for 2022. He discusses what Hootbold is and why you might want to rebuild it, the changes that were made to Hootbold since it was first introduced that make it possible now. A few things have changed since 2012, and this is the full guide, and that a previous full guide was published because there was a Fredless guide back in October 14, 2012, so almost 10 years ago, talking about everything. It's hard to believe that Rohan has been out for almost 10 years.
Yeah, I'm trying to fit my head around that.
Yes. Yes. So it talks about that. Then he talks about the actual quick guide he has and some quick pointers on completing it so that you get your reputation up and that you get all those Hootbold coins so that you'll be able to do this. This could also be useful if you are on a legendary server like Shadowfax, I think, is on Helm's Deep now, though. Right? Or I forgot where.
I'm sorry, I don't play on Shadowfax, so I don't know.
Yes, I don't play there either. So could that would be a useful thing to know back when Shadowfax was at the point where a lot of people would be wanting to do Hootbolt, so they get through this as quickly as possible, since you have about 60 days between opening new areas on Shadowfax, since Shadowfax seems to be running very, very quickly. So this guide helps you to show them the meaning of haste when you are in Hootbold. And that's it for our site news. So let's head into our weekend gaming. And Krister, how'd you do against the dragon last night?
What dragon? We didn't see a dragon.
Oh,
We died well before then. So our our T2 Hidden Horde ruminations continue. But even though we did not get past the first boss again, we did learn something very, very vital, which was one of our kinnies who does T3, T4 raids, gave us some critical advice on positioning that, from the tank perspective, in fact, our main tank wasn't there last night, and our alternate tank did a great job. But I think both of us realized that this is the ideal positioning. So I think we found our positioning, and now we're just we need to work on our DPS. So very happy with our progress. Very frustrated we haven't progressed further yet. But
well, at least, and halfway through there is when I finally learned, oh yes, I have all of these group buffs that I probably should be using. We didn't have a captain there, so someone's complaining about we didn't have any group buffs. I said, oh, that's right, brawlers have group buffs.
Well, and several people do too. I mean, you have that dwarven. There's a dwarven racial. Is it a buff straight to vitality? I think maybe.
Yeah, but I think those have. I think the dwarf one though probably has a 30-minute cooldown to it.
Well, right, but basically, in those instances, it doesn't matter if it's got 30-minute cooldown. It's just that if we can use that, if we can turn it to 11, that's how we're going to win. So it's just like pulling out all the stops. So like you were saying, because when you looked, somebody else was looking closer. I think somebody else realized they could do a group buff at that point too. And that's exactly what's great about it, is now people are saying, okay, well, all these skills I totally ignored. Maybe I can. Maybe they do have some utility here. So
yeah, because I didn't even before, because I did very little grouping with the brawler before then. Yes.
But I feel like we are definitely on the right path. And even though it is always frustrating when we can't win past it, especially when you feel like everything's going good. The most frustrating thing about that boss fight is feeling like everything's going good, and then somebody gets knocked off the platform, and then things change at that
Chunk,
point.
chunk, 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 chunk. Yeah, especially when it's one of the key healers.
Yeah, and that's always just devastation. If one of the tanks goes down, or one of the healers goes down, that just pretty much spells doom for us. But we're going to give it another go, of course. So I'm looking forward to the next attempt. And then in ESO, I've continued to explode. So my orc has been consistently exploding everywhere. And in fact, it was great that Pine and Terry and myself got to try an adventure, but that was when we realized that 3 people shouldn't be doing a 4-man. 4 people should be doing a 4-man.
Oh, well, that particular dungeon, especially because I chose a dungeon that was in the original back in the days before they had any level for anything. That was, I think, about a level 40-ish, level 50-ish dungeon, and I think those dungeons are tougher than the ones at the beginning. That were the ones that were at the beginning zones. So I should have chosen one of the ones because some of the ones at the beginning zones can be solo because I know that from personal experience. So yes, apparently they get tougher and tougher and tougher as you go up in the zone in the story progression, I think.
Well, I definitely think we should get a full group and go back there.
Yeah,
That was
we go back to that one with a full group at some time. And
yeah.
if we have only 2 or 3, then going to some place like Splinter Clutch. Well, unless Sansa's in the group, of course, because she won't go into that place. But
Yeah, I started to go into that place once, and then the splash screen was like, and what was I thinking again?
Yeah, and then I've been kind of I re-upped my Final Fantasy since everybody's been playing, and I got on my character, and I have absolutely 100% forgotten how to play, and it's very intimidating looking at his skill list and trying to figure out what I was doing, and then having all this stuff in my inventory, not realizing there must have been some kind of goal. I don't remember what my goals were, but the fly. I love just the one thing I could do was fly. So of course I had to hop on my mount and fly around a bit. That's very satisfying in that game, especially what's that place? It's just a bunch of floating islands, basically a sea of clouds. Um, it's like in the quest, there's a ship that takes you there, and you do a bunch of adventuring. And then when you're flying around that place, it's so just kind of peaceful and serene. So that's all 3 of them. All the MMOs that I've been playing have their own specific appeal. But it's really funny to go from ESO combat to Final Fantasy or LOTRO combat because ESO just feels more visceral, I guess. And then Final Fantasy and LOTRO are about click your buttons at the appropriate times and whatnot. But all 3 of them are just been a lot of fun. And I picked up a game called Planet Zomboid, which is a zombie survival game, which is awesome. You basically won't survive. It basically is just the tale of your death. It's really the game. But just trying to get better and better at that. So, but interesting. And the style of it is such that it made me interested in playing a game I hadn't played in a while. So I busted RimWorld out and loaded that and have been messing around with that and realizing how fun that game was as well. So I've been having a pretty good gaming week. Guer, how about yourself?
Well, in LOTRO on Guer, I finally finished Scavenger Hunt. I started it last year. I got everything but the Year 7 trifles, which is fighting or actually emoting at all the big bads. You can or fight them or not. But running Asta Dunhoth, even when you're over level, is a whole thing. Mechanics will still get you. And that was a lot of fun, though, doing that kind of content with the kin. I also ran Egoroth with Pine and Luanori, and I died to the water in Forakel for the first time since turning level 100. Sometime between like level I don't know what and level 100, I had got to where I could survive it because I swam out and got the treasure chest before I was level 105. I think I was level 100 when I swam out and I survived. But yeah, I got knocked off the boat into the water and I was trying to swim back towards it, but I was dying fast. So that was kind of amusing. I haven't had that happen for a while. In ESO, my main Sedesa completed Carrie's hit list in a matter of a couple of hours. And yay for sneaky CP, especially that one that reduces the detection radius. I remember running that one other character, and even though she was a Nightblade and had a lot of sneaky gear on, I still had problems with a couple of places that I was like, oh, I'm going to leave those last for the zones when I was clearing it out. And I went and did it, and I didn't have any problems, and I didn't even have to pop an invisibility, like a disappear potion. So yeah, yay for CP. And she's also a pirate. She found all four guys in Southern Elsewhere that she needed to kill and got the pirate title just in time for High Isle, right?
Right. Yeah. Now,
it's a Thieves
Carrie's
Guild
hit.
thing.
It's a Thieves Guild thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And each zone, in each of the base game zones, there is one item on that list that you have to go and steal. And some of them are more difficult to get than others because there will be pathers, or you have to get yourself positioned just right and then wait for somebody to turn around and grab it really quickly. I suppose if I had done it on a character that had a Blade of Woe, it would have been easier because I would just eliminated the problems close by. But Desa is not going to be joining the Dark Brotherhood. I have another character that's doing that, but that's just not her thing. And yes, I know it's a inanimate character that I have rolled in a game, but she has her own life to live, and leave me alone. I'm RPing.
Well, seeing that I have characters that probably would never do Carrie's hit list, I would not be complaining about someone's choice.
I also got Steam working through Crossover on my Mac and spent 28 hours playing Dwarf Romantic. Whoops. That was like just in a few days' time. It's almost like a strategy. It looks like Risk. You've got hexagonal tiles with landscape pieces on it. Some of it, there's like rivers, there's forests, there's houses. You can build towns, but you get more points. You get higher up on the leaderboard for getting more perfects where everything matches up. And it's got a lovely soundtrack, and it's very zen, and you can look up and go, oh my dear God, I've been doing this for 2.5 hours. So yeah, it's a really nice game. I'm going to blame Andang on this. I was watching his stream and he was playing it, and the more I watch, the more I'm like, I really want to play this game. And now I have, and it's really great. Sans, what did you get up to this week?
Well, in LOTRO, I ran a few festival quests and got some cool fireplaces. And they're really, really awesome. Perfect for roasting marshmallows for those of you who like your marshmallows on fire to be perfectly roasted. Or, like roasting your toes if you're not careful. But totally awesome fireplaces. And then I logged in many, many alts for festival rewards, which was really, really hard. And I was really, really wishing that there was a, yes, I accept this for all of my characters button. And not I have to log out and log into all 50 some characters. But I'm up to 53 character slots now, so thank you, Standing Stone Games.
Wow.
They added some new ones. So, that's pretty cool.
If I ever need
and they're
to
not all
summon an army.
filled yet. Cinders is right, yet. They're not all filled yet, so.
Sans, I was going to point out, I'm pretty sure that Sam Burke in the chat said he has 55, so you need to find out how he got the other 2.
Oh, they're on sale right now. I definitely need to go find that out. Anyway, having not been allowed to buy them for a while, I hadn't checked yet. And then, while lugging them in and realizing that my inventory was completely out of space, I realized I also can't deconstruct things to give me more space because I still am capped on script, and it's still annoying. I really wish there was a much higher cap on script because then I could actually clean out my inventory. And then I spent some time as a horrible goose with my nephew over the weekend, and it was a lot of fun terrorizing the neighborhood on that beautiful day. Honk honk! Untitled Goose Game for the win.
It's a lovely day in the village, and you are a horrible goose.
Horrible goose. And even more creative mayhem with two of us running around on geese. And then I completed patch 2.2 in Final Fantasy XIV, working my way towards Heavensward, and getting past the gate that is rudely closed between me and the crafting materials I was trying to collect. But I've been enjoying flying and fun weapons. My monk, who's kind of like a brawler in LOTRO, now has Moogle fists that like light up and sparkle and everything, and they look really cute and adorable, but they are murderous Moogle fists that deal lots of damage too, so that's pretty cool. That's been pretty much my week. How's your week, Pineleaf?
Alright, I'll begin with my brawler. Speaking of fists on here, where in addition to the little expedition into Agaroth and into the Hidden Horde, I decided to see what would happen if I ran the school solo. Because I've been trying to see, all right, how far can I push this brawler here? And I got through the first two bosses pretty easily. In fact, I accidentally activated the first boss prematurely and had absolutely no trouble whatsoever on the whole thing. So the first two bosses, dirt simple all the way through. Then I came to that third boss. And boy, does he pack a punch. Yep, I certainly lost the DPS race on that. So that probably draws the line then on what I could do on the brawler. I have a feeling that I will be able to do the library on that character. I will have to try that at some point in the future. But the school, doing that at level solo does not seem to be an option at the moment. Now, in Dungeons & Dragons Online, as for my tabaxi, I decided to visit a haunted house. And in the haunted house, I discovered something that I had not noticed before, because all the rest of the times I had played this particular quest, I was either on an artificer or on an alchemist. In other words, high int characters. This time I was running on a monk, where you have all these other scores that have priority over int in that one. So as a result of this, my character did not notice an inconsistency in there. So that means something that I had always activated very, very early on and been able to face a particular optional opponent early in the quest, I wound up having to face later on the quest because I didn't discover that it was an enemy until later on. Then I had to face it with extra others in the area. I didn't notice that that second option existed because I had always assumed that, well, you always notice the thing. No, your character must, I guess, had the intelligence of at least 12, I guess, in order to be able to notice the inconsistency in there and be able to and handle that early. So that was an interesting thing to find out. Then over in ESO, I was continuing on my quest to clear out bag slots. I got my bags down so that now I have only 60 filled slots. And the main thing that I was doing in order to clear out bag space was to finally get around to doing all those surveys and all those treasure maps that have been sitting in my inventory. So I finished up all those. I think I have a couple of them that are in Cyrodiil and one that's in underneath Northern Skyrim, whatever that area is called. So I do still have those areas that I need to do. But that's only a couple of those that are left. For the most part, I've cleared out considerable amount about backspace by taking care of those treasure maps that have been sitting in my inventory for I don't know how long. I think I had some of them that I've had ever since the game first launched. I think that's how old some of those are. Finally, those are out of the way. Now, there was one other thing, though, that I noticed that was in my bags, and that was one of the pieces of the precursor. I said, okay, fine. I could go and add that to the precursor that I'm building for the last time. But I thought, maybe I should just nip this in the bud and go and collect all the pieces. So I went all over all over Tamriel, collecting these pieces in there. And of course, it requires you to do the first 5 chapters of Clockwork City. So I had already done the first chapter, but not, so I then went and
that's
did the
right.
next
To
4
get into the
chapters.
part in the east side, you have to do all that.
Yeah, you got to do so I did all of that.
It's a cool story.
Yes, but you got to remember is that I had this little thing where I almost decided to just chuck the whole thing because at one point in there was a trespass quest, and I tend to avoid trespass. But I eventually decided, all right, no, I can't just let that stand in my way of this. So I did this and did that quest. And I
How big
finally
of a
wound up
bounty did you
using
end up with, Pine?
about 480, 460, 480.
That's not too bad. Nice work.
Yeah. All right. So I wound up with that. And I think the only reason why I did is because I didn't realize it at the time until it was too late. And that is that one of the guards is carrying a lamp that negates concealment. So I was trying to use concealment, which I have a pretty decent concealment, but of course when you have someone running around with a lamp that completely negates that didn't do all that well. So eventually though I did complete that quest on there and finally used something that's been sitting in my inventory for a long time, and that is a counterfeit pardon.
Congratulations! We'll get you there yet. I was going to say,
more inventory space too.
Well, I was going to say, I would suggest don't forget and leave Miri out, because if anybody tries to attack you, Miri attacks back, and that's how I ended up getting a bounty when I was doing that quest myself. I put her away really quickly.
Oh, I didn't know that there was a way that if they start attacking you, how can you avoid attacking? No. I didn't have I didn't have the hire them with me.
No. You can't. I mean, you cannot fight back. If you're out on the landscape, you can just put your weapon away, stow it, whatever, so that you don't fight back, and then your bounty isn't as high. And sometimes they will just charge you for what you did. But if you've done something that means they'll kill you on sight, it doesn't matter what you do.
Okay, because I had assumed that in that particular quest that was, since it wasn't a normal guard, I assumed that quest had special guards that would not let you pay a fine or anything like that.
If you're sneaking around, it doesn't matter whether you're on that quest or not. The guards with the lamps will detect you if their radius brushes up against yours, unless you have a basket you can hide in. But that instance doesn't have that. That's something it's elsewhere.
Actually, there is a basket. It's just that I didn't know it until after that.
Whoops.
Yeah, because I didn't see.
That's what you use those baskets for, is to hide from the guards with the radius lamps like that.
Right. Yeah. I found the basket while there has to be a actually I think it's a box or barrel or something like this. But
Yeah.
you have this. I found it right at the entrance to the room where you were supposed to go into at the end, but I was in the end and I wasn't sure which side I was supposed to go in at the time since this was my first time in that area. So anyway, I
Yeah.
wound up having a little. I'm between being detected twice and defeating a couple of guards. I got my bounty up just under 500, which meant just enough for a 500 gold with
Wait,
counterfeit
Pineleaf, did
pardon
you
to
try
cancel
to
out.
get it close to 500? Or
No,
did it
I
just
didn't even
happen?
know. I didn't
Okay.
know. I
Just
completely
checking.
forgot. I didn't even realize I had a. I completely forgot about the counterfeit pardon things until either what I did is I wound up completing the quest and then porting over to the House of Antiquities in Western Skyrim to fiddle around in there for a while.
You were waiting for the heat to cool off.
Yeah, waiting for the heat to cool off. But then I said, "Oh no, I've got this counterfeit pardon thing. Why don't I just use that and then get back onto my business?" And so, Mm, so that's why I did all
Makes
this.
sense.
Pine,
Yeah.
there are people that you get an achievement for paying a ridiculously high, clearing a ridiculously high bounty. There are people who let that ride for more than one session just to be able to get that achievement. I don't know how they do it. I would like be getting attacked by guards all the time. But yeah.
Yeah, that's not my play style. The only reason why I did it is because I decided I was not going to have this deed sitting in my backlog forever on it. It's not like Northern Elsewhere where I've just decided, well, I don't need to finish Northern Elsewhere. There are 3 quests in Northern Elsewhere that are trespass quests. It's like, okay,
Noted.
so not for 3 of 'em. Yeah, because there's one in Rimmon, there's one at a farm, and there's one in and the 3rd one is in a town of thieves. You say, "Oh, wait a minute, you get bounties for trespassing in a town of thieves?" I mean, real that sounded like a bit much there, but that's another matter.
Evidently there is honor among thieves.
Yeah, apparently in that place there is. In any case, I managed to finish that quest and I built the precursor, and now my house has a self-healing robot in it, and you know what you do with a self-healing robot.
You go to Disneyland.
Make them wash dishes?
No, 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 no. No, it's effectively it's a target dummy.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a target dummy. So that you can test out your DPS. And I did notice that when I did a round on it, it gives you a DPS score in your chat at the end of the session.
Very good.
So that's one way to test out some of your builds. Because I was wondering whether or not to buy a target dummy in the Crown store, but well, it looks like that
Well,
answers that question. I don't need
there
one
are
now.
there are different levels of target dummies.
Yeah.
So that is one of the more basic ones. I would have to look up which ones they recommend. I think maybe it's some of the ones that you could craft after you've got the Master Writ one. That there's a target dummy that you can do that is supposed to mimic the same kind of skills and DPS debuffs and stuff as a dungeon boss. So
Ah, okay. That could be an
the
interesting.
precursor is not.
Yeah, okay. Well,
He's more like maybe an early delve boss.
okay, an early Delphi. Well, okay, at least that'll give me an idea on some things and the like. And right, that way. Now you're saying that there is a crafting writ that
Well,
is
it's a master writ thing you
master
barter
writ. Yeah.
for. You have to have done a certain amount of master writs to have enough currency to barter for the recipe, and then you also need some special, um, like a special, I guess, like trading almost item that you also have to get from the master writs. Which
Oh,
is
oh
why
yes.
I
Okay.
was really happy that I just got like a target Ogrim and and one of the what are they called? The great big mournful sounding guys from like Hughes Baines and stuff. Oh, and Aegis that has like the multiple arms and goes like like he's like he's one of the old defrosting refrigerators from the After Dark Windows thing.
Oh, well. That's right. I did actually look at the things that you could barter for, and I think I did notice that there were a couple of dummies. So those are recipes essentially for those various.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were. I noticed that they were very, very expensive, and I thought that the odds of me ever completing that many restaurants seemed to be rather slim, considering especially since half the ones I come to are have Nernhoned requirements, and I'm never going to
Those are.
have that.
I've always felt like those were too expensive to use. But anyway, with the I wouldn't want to use the Nernhone for that. I would rather use it to make gear.
Yeah, so in which case, I think I decided that any Nernhoned ones that I find for now on, since I don't even have the ability to do Nernhoned in any case, is I'm just going to zip, zip, is just delete the master it, unless there's something better to do with the master it you can't use. Not hearing anything, I'll assume that's the case. So yes,
But
so
okay, I did just look it up. Like this is so scintillating for our Lotro players, but it is the one that you can make, the robust refabricated target centurion that you can make using that praxis is equivalent to a veteran trial boss. So that's part of the reason why it's so expensive too. Is that yeah? I
well,
mean, so
I'm not going to do a
that's precisely. But if you can stand against that, then you should be okay for everything else.
well, veteran trial boss. That's
You don't want to run Sunspire?
Look, don't trials are designed? Were they designed for 8 or 12?
I believe it's 12
Yeah, so essentially it's the equivalent in ESO of a raid.
of a raid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think I need a target dummy that simulates a raid boss.
Oh.
And that concludes my week in gaming. We currently have 14 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious raid of players and help support Lotra players, you can go to the donation page. You can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. Your money will be used for our podcast hosting or our website hosting and to pay for our live shows. If you would like to send us an email, you can send it to podcast@lotraplayers.com. You can also follow us at Twitter, the Players Alliance at Players Ally, and Lotra Players at Lotra Players, Arendis at Arendis, Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needles, Senswinda at Senswinda, Terry Edwin at Terry Edwin, Guarendis at Guarendis, Calabathian at Calabathian, and Krister at Entropy Engine. Now, is that real or is that a joke?
That's real.
Oh, that's real. Okay. I mean, I think it took me 2 years before I had one, so I guess you took about the same amount of time.
Exactly.
The Players Alliance has 2 shows on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. US Eastern Time. We have Lotra Players News, and we record DDO Players News when Drac is available. And that is all for tonight, and this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.